One of the most interesting developments in the Trump-Biden-Ukraine story is that Donald Trump is considering releasing transcripts of his call with the president of Ukraine. There's actually many people on the right and some Republicans agreeing, saying he should be open and transparent. I imagine he would only do that if the information revealed would benefit him. Right now, there are two different realities pertaining to the story. In the left, Donald Trump was putting pressure on Ukraine to dig up dirt on Joe Biden that would help Trump come 2020. In the right universe, Joe Biden used his position to benefit his son by getting a prosecutor in Ukraine fired, a prosecutor that was actually putting scrutiny on his son. I believe neither of these stories paints the full picture as to what's really going on. But now we can see that even Rudy Giuliani is accusing Ukraine of laundering $3 million to Hunter Biden. So the story seems to be about political advantages coming in 2020. The left believes one thing and they're going to push this narrative. The right believes this thing, they're going to push their narrative. But the most interesting hypothesis I've seen is that the Trump administration or Trump allies put out a fake whistleblower or some kind of fake story to goad the media into talking about Biden so that when the transcripts are released, Trump is exonerated and the story shifts to negative press about Joe Biden. Now, already the story has been shifting towards Joe Biden, but there's still that left bubble. Let's read this story, and then I want to show you some interesting information that makes me think, it's plausible that somehow this story was leaked on purpose because it's not going to hurt Trump, might help him, and it's forcing the media to highlight this Biden-Ukraine story. I'm not saying it's true. I'm saying it's an interesting idea being floated by many Trump supporters, so we'll look at why they think that's the case, and then I want to talk about, look, man, in the end, we even have Chris Hayes saying, I am watching this somehow turn into a story about Biden and I'm going to pass out. That seems to be what's happening. The far left Democrats, they like it. They don't like Biden either. So maybe somehow, either by accident or on purpose, this whole story was presented to hurt Biden, not Trump. And we'll start with looking into Trump considering releasing the transcripts with his call. Now, before we get started, make sure you head over to timcast.com/donate if you would like to support my work. There's a PayPal option, a crypto option, a physical address. You know the drill. The best thing you can do is just share this video if you want to support my work. YouTube deranks independent political commentary. I think I've actually seen data saying they're actually upranking this channel, so that's great. At any rate, sharing still helps. So if you like it, please consider sharing. But let's read the story from Town Hall. They report, President Trump said he is considering releasing a transcript of his call with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, after reports that he allegedly tried to pressure Zelensky to investigate accusations against the Biden family. Quote, we'll make a determination about how to release it. Releasing it, saying what we said, the president told reporters on Sunday. It was an absolutely perfect conversation. The problem is, when you're speaking to foreign leaders, you don't want foreign leaders to feel that they shouldn't be speaking openly and good. Here's what's interesting. The whistleblower isn't actually a whistleblower. They include this tweet from Michael Tracy saying, important to note, however, is that the whistleblower complaint was not based on firsthand knowledge of the call. Michael Tracy tweeting, the whistleblower did not have direct knowledge of the Trump-Ukraine phone call. The account is based on hearsay. The media then offered its characterization of this hearsay. If you think that's sufficient to demand impeachment, you must have slept through the last 3 years. What's interesting then is that Trump openly admitted to having some kind of conversation. So here's what happens first. A whistleblower complaint was apparently put in, I believe the date was around July 25th. It was ignored. According to CNN, I believe this was CNN's reporting, they said it was because he didn't learn about this information, or I'm sorry, I shouldn't say he, but the whistleblower didn't learn about this through the course of duty. It was hearsay. And because of that, it wasn't a whistleblower. It was just someone hearing a rumor. Now, apparently, this story comes out and everyone says, did Trump really have this conversation with Ukraine to pressure them? And then Trump openly admits to the conversation. Whatever this whistleblower heard seems to not really line up with what Trump thinks happened. And if Trump is going to release the transcript, it may actually discredit the more alarmist nature of this whistleblower story. Think about it. The whistleblower doesn't know what Trump said. They heard a rumor. There's a theory now going around. Check this out. From The Donald, this is one of their highest voted posts as of right now this morning. This guy leaked the fake whistleblower story because he knew it was the only way the fake media would report on Biden's corruption. And it's an image of Trump with a very poorly photoshopped mustache. It's a joke. I'm not saying that all of the Donald actually believes this conspiracy. Trump was planning this thing to get the media to do it, but they're certainly entertaining the idea, perhaps, half jokingly. But here's the thing. Think about the results of what this Ukraine story will be. We've already seen the overt calls for impeachment. We're seeing Elizabeth Warren, we're seeing Ocasio-Cortez, but they've even dragged in Nancy Pelosi. Now, what I highlighted in yesterday's video, as I've highlighted many times, is that impeachment is wildly unpopular. Imagine what happens if all of the media and all these Democrats come out and say impeachment and start screaming and screaming, and then Trump releases a transcript which shows he didn't really do anything wrong. Now, I'm not saying that's true. For all we know, Trump is just saying he's considering releasing his transcripts as a defense, so that you might hear commentary similar to this. Oh, but if Trump is going to release it, he must be innocent. No, when he releases it and we see the evidence, we will make our determination. I think the theory, the hypothesis is interesting because it would be a very clever instance of 4D chess, as they describe it. Now, look, I've talked to a lot of people on the left, and they say things like Trump's a bumbling buffoon and he just gets lucky. And I'm like, listen, man, Trump plays the media all the time. He uses the far left. He uses the outrage to make the Democrats look bad. I can't imagine, after so many times of doing this, it's an accident. There have been several opinion pieces about how Trump plays the media and distracts us. You have all these stories about Trump tweeting mean things while signing policy and rule changes with his other hand. The media gets distracted, focused on Sharpiegate that Trump drew on a piece of board with a Sharpie, and ignores that he reappropriated funds from other military projects for the wall. Some people noticed it, but the media is easily distracted. If I'm going to look at everything Trump has done in gaming the media, I wouldn't be surprised if this was true. I don't know who this whistleblower is. Actually, I'm sorry. I should stop referring to this person as a whistleblower. They're not. It is not a whistleblower, but of course, the media keeps saying it's a whistleblower. Look at this. This is from the Washington, I believe this is from The Hill. The new details came after the Washington Post reported that Trump's call with a foreign leader had been the subject of a whistleblower complaint. Sorry. We now know that it's not a whistleblower. It is just someone working in government who heard a rumor. Here's where we end up. Michael Tracy tweeted this. Good opinions. That's why I'm highlighting Michael Tracy. The media has no awareness that their credibility to scream scandal and impeachment has been completely obliterated by the years-long Russia farce, for which there has been zero accountability. They just pretend like nothing happened. And that brings me to the next big story. Pelosi hints at Trump impeachment, warning there will be a whole new stage of investigation if the president blocks Ukraine whistleblower report from reaching Congress. Now look, the whistleblower story, to an extent, is bad for Trump. It's going to get a lot of people to believe it. There's going to be a lot of people who are uninitiated who believe it. But now he's got Pelosi entering the impeachment train. Pelosi was a resistor. She was saying, no, it's a bad idea over and over and over again. AOC, Ocasio-Cortez, said it was a bigger scandal. The Democrats wouldn't impeach Trump after all this. But we know the far left doesn't like Joe Biden. And so it seems like all of the blowback from this will not be coming to Trump. It's coming to Joe Biden, which the far left likes and Trump likes, because it's knocking him down, and now Elizabeth Warren has overtaken. If they can get Pelosi into an unfavorable position, like supporting impeachment through this scandal, well, that's good for them, whether it's intentional or not. There's a bit more, so I'll highlight this. This is a story from the Daily Wire. Ilhan Omar declares war on Joe Biden. I highlight this. The story's from today, just to show you that when it comes to the calls for impeachment, when it comes to those on the left highlighting this story, if Trump releases transcripts, if he does, and it does show a tepid conversation, it's going to be really, really bad for Joe Biden. Worse than it already is. As I've already highlighted, here we can see Chris Hayes saying, I'm watching this turn into a story about Biden, I'm going to pass out. But the story continues. Now with Fox News hosting the conversation. In the end, call it an accident or call it intentional. Trump supporters, of course, are going to make claims of Trump's brilliance in 4D chess. The people on the left will say, well, he got lucky this time. But how many times does he have to get lucky? It could just be that these circumstances arise and he's just a better chess player. Not that Trump's intentionally making this happen. right? Forget the conspiracy theory that the whistleblower was staged, that it's a hoax, that it's fake information being leaked to the press. That probably really happened. But what's likely true is that when it comes down to it, Trump and his allies are playing the game better than the Democrats. The story comes out, the media addresses it, and then immediately Trump and his team react. Not that they did it on purpose, but that they're playing a game now. The game is started. Regardless of any of that, it is backfiring on Joe Biden and the more moderate Democrats. Because like I said, impeachment is unpopular, and now Nancy Pelosi is playing this game. But check this story out. Giuliani accuses Ukraine of laundering $3 million to Hunter Biden, asks how Obama could let that happen. Fox News reports, Giuliani, the personal attorney for Trump and outspoken critic of presidential hopeful Joe Biden and his son's relationship with Ukraine, accused Kiev of laundering $3 million to Hunter Biden, suggested that the Obama administration turned a blind eye, and made the prediction that the scandal is in its infancy. He said, if the Dem Party doesn't call for investigation of Biden's millions from Ukraine and billions from China, they will own it. Biden's made big money selling public office. How could Obama have allowed this to happen? Will Dems continue to condone and enable this kind of pay for play? I don't want to entertain this at all as fact. It's very possible that this is just more political posturing from the right, like we see with the Democrats. For the longest time, for years, they accused Trump of working with the Russians. Well, now they have their counterpunch, accusing the Democrats, or at least Joe Biden, of working with Ukraine. It doesn't mean it's true. The story is very, very complicated. And I have to admit, I hate this news cycle because it seems like both sides are just framing the narrative so they can win political points. That's why I'm talking about this idea of the whistleblower being intentional, because both sides are trying to take advantage and claim it's going to help them. But in the end, if this transcript comes out, it's going to be good. It's going to be good for Donald Trump. Now, here's the thing. Let's push back on the right a little bit. And this, well, first of all, I will highlight, we'll come back to this one. This is the story I was actually trying to pull up. Biden says he never discussed Hunter Biden's Ukraine deal. Hunter says he did. I saw this tidbit and I kind of rolled my eyes a bit. So Joe Biden says he never talked about Burisma with his son. But in this tweet from David Martosco, he says, here's a problem. Joe Biden did discuss overseas business with his son Hunter at least once. This is from the New Yorker story about 2 months ago, which says, as Hunter recalled, his father discussed Burisma with him just once. Quote, Dad said, I hope you know what you are doing. And I said, I do. Is that all? The challenge here is that the left is going to say all his dad said was passively like, oh, I hope you know what you're doing, and they didn't have a conversation. The right will say, no, they did discuss Burisma, the details of which we don't know. So I'll give a little pushback on the right saying we don't know the full details, and it very well may have been just Joe Biden passively saying, yeah, do your thing. I hope you know what you're doing, and not really engaging. Though it is entirely possible that Joe Biden's son and his dad had a lengthy conversation. But let's now talk about why I think, in the end, this may benefit Trump. We've seen it over and over again. These big scandals that come out, you see things like the Kavanaugh effect. These scandals don't play the way Democrats think they're going to play out. Trump's approval rating is higher than it's ever been, or not than it's ever been, but it's up. It's higher than it was 2 years ago. His favorability is up. His base is larger. He's fundraising like crazy. So whatever these scandals are, they're not hurting him. Let's say, let me entertain this position. Let's say everything falls apart here. The transcripts come out and it shows Trump saying, I demand dirt or else. I'm not entirely convinced it's going to be bad for the president because I think people are burned out, as Michael Tracy pointed out. After years of the Democrats screaming scandal and impeachment, they've lost their credibility. So even if now they can prove Trump did something, in the end, people probably just aren't going to be paying attention or just not interested. It's like the Democrats who cried Russia, the boy who cried wolf. Well, take a look at this story. Lindsey Graham is urging Trump to release more details of the call with Ukrainian president. I can't imagine this kind of narrative would be emerging unless they could back it up. Now, it's possible. They say, we're going to do it, get everybody all riled up at the last minute. Oh, for national security reasons, we can't do it. I have no problem saying I do not trust the Republicans and the president, though I question the motives of the Democrats. It does seem like this may fizzle out and be a big nothing burger. You know what, man? After years of Russiagate, if you don't understand that position where I'm coming from, where I'm just I roll my eyes at these stories and I don't want to talk about it, well, then I don't know what to tell you. You must have been asleep, like Michael Tracy said. Let's check out a little bit here. We have a quote from Lindsey Graham saying, "I would urge him to continue to be as transparent as possible and tell us as much as he can without compromising executive privilege so that we can understand what happened," the South Carolina Republican told conservative talk radio host Hugh Hewitt during an interview on the show. Now, here's the story I pulled up before, but I want to highlight. Ukrainian foreign minister defends Trump talk, no pressure. Now, first, if Trump did demand quid pro quo from Ukraine, saying, "I want dirt on Hunter Biden and Biden's family or else," then yeah, they're going to defend the president because the president can, he can back up his threats. It's also the simple solution that, yeah, there really just was no pressure. It's hard to know for sure. I know there's a lot of speculation here. But if Trump is willing to entertain transparency and releasing the transcripts, and the foreign minister is saying no pressure, I'm not surprised that Trump supporters are jokingly saying the story may have been fed to the press on purpose to make them cover Joe Biden and Burisma. The Daily Caller reports, Ukrainian Foreign Minister Vadim Prystaiko said Saturday that President Donald Trump did not exert any pressure on his Ukrainian counterpart in a telephone call that has become the subject of media reports. Prystaiko reportedly noted that leaders have the right to discuss any problems that exist. The conversation has produced a purported White House intelligence agent whistleblower and reports that Trump tried to force Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, foreign names, I apologize, to investigate the business dealings of former Vice President Joe Biden's son and Hillary Clinton's allegation that Trump asked Ukrainians to interfere in the 2020 election. But that is a framing. I want to stress, whatever the call says, if Trump did tell the Ukrainians what's going on with that investigation, Rudy Giuliani is looking into it, is that really interference or is that anti-corruption? The right will tell you anti-corruption, the left will tell you interference. Be careful of the framing devices. It's going to be played. They're going to play it. They're going to try and take advantage of it. The former Secretary of State tweeted Friday, the president asked a foreign power to help him win an election again. That is an absurd framing of what we know so far. All we really know for now, and I could be wrong because, again, it's a very complicated story, is that there's an alleged individual who heard a rumor that Trump was urging the Ukrainians to work with Giuliani on an investigation into this company and potentially the Bidens. Giuliani is alleging they laundered money through Biden. That is likely a nothing burger. I don't know. I don't like this story as much as I didn't like the Russiagate stuff. Okay, but what do you do? What do you do? If Trump says investigate, okay, well, if they want to investigate Trump and see his phone call, I also say okay. If Trump is going to release this phone call and he's considering it, well, then good. Then I don't know what we're supposed to get out of the Biden thing because there's nothing as tangible to ask for. In the end, it's just negative press. I'm going to say it for the millionth time, man. I hate this story. It really does feel like there's nothing that's going to come out of this. There's nothing we can get, and both sides are using it to their political advantage. But you know what? In the end, it's the media that's eating it up. It's the Democrats that are playing to it, and they don't have to, but of course they're going to, and Trump's going to fire back. And we know the far left Democrats, they're loving it. They don't like Joe Biden. They're loving it. So this is what's going to happen. Here's a quote. I know what the conversation was about, and I think there was no pressure. Prystaiko told Haramad, I can't pronounce that, I'm sorry. There was talk, conversation. There was talk. Conversations are different. Leaders have the right to discuss any problems that exist. This conversation was long, friendly, and it touched on many questions, sometimes requiring serious answers. Trump was quick to tweet his approval of the Prystaiko's comments, agreeing that the conversation with the Ukrainian president was long, friendly, and it touched on many questions. Zelensky and Trump are scheduled to meet as planned at the United Nations General Assembly next week. So look, I don't want to entertain conspiracies, but check out this story. Okay, this is why the narrative is pushing forward. At UN, Trump facing questions about Ukraine, Iran allies. And I saw a tweet where someone says, exactly like Trump wants. It was someone from the left criticizing the media coverage and the press, saying Trump wants to talk about Ukraine. There's very little here pertaining to Trump. If the transcripts show very little, then all that happened is a big story popped up damaging the credibility of Joe Biden. As I will highlight this tweet from Chris Hayes, okay? He was watching the story turn to Biden and he says, I am going to pass out. That's what happens. So I don't know, man. Here's the last thing I'm going to say because I'm really excited to stop talking about Ukraine. I don't know. It's complicated. If the president is trying to use his power to go after political rivals, we absolutely should be investigating it. So okay, if Trump wants to consider releasing the transcripts, Lindsey Graham agrees, I think the right is in a position where they're saying, fine, release it. That says to me, I'd probably bet on it's probably a nothing burger, like Russiagate. The Democrats keep pushing these big scandals. Now they're claiming Trump worked with Ukraine, he worked with Russia. I don't know, man. All I know is you cried wolf too much, and I'm just sick of it. Don't be surprised if my position is I don't believe it. There's no whistleblower. It's hearsay. It's a rumor from someone that has no direct knowledge. And they've played this game for years. And now Trump, Pelosi is getting roped into the impeachment thing. It just seems like this whole thing is going to blow back very, very badly on the Democrats when all is said and done, as per usual. I don't know what the Democrats are trying to do. I don't know what they think they're going to get out of this. So, the worst case scenario is Trump tried abusing his power. Okay, they made those same accusations against Obama, against Bush. They always do that, and it never results in anything. So think about the politics coming into 2020. Trump's base is not going to falter on this. Moderates are burned out over Russiagate, and only the resistance is going to champion this. Is it possible Trump understands this and they're playing 4D chess? Sure. It's also more likely that these circumstances naturally arise and Trump plays a better game. The hand is dealt. It's not a conspiracy, but the Democrats keep floundering and the conservatives know how to play the game better. In the end, all that really matters is going back to what Michael Tracy said. They've lost their credibility. No one's going to want to hear this, okay? Right? Who was it? Was it Bill Maher, I think? Someone said, I can't remember who it was, talking about the Lewandowski hearing, that if Democrats are going to keep pushing this, they think people want more of this, then they're nuts. If the Democrats think people want more impeachment, more scandal, more hearings, they are nuts. Democrats need to get on point and get on message. But scandals like this keep roping them in to nothing. So call it an accident, okay? Maybe there's damning information and maybe Trump did something wrong. I'm not saying that's not the case. But call it an accident, call it whatever you want. In the end, the Democrats are off point. They're not talking about the economy. They're not talking about improving jobs, and Trump is, even within the scandals. In the end, the Democrats are the ones who are off balance on this. But I don't know what to tell you. I'm not going to say it's 4D chess. I just thought the idea was interesting. So take it for what it is. You tell me what you think. I'm sick and tired of this story. Next segment will be coming up at youtube.com/TimCastNews at 6 p.m. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all next time.